about ideas, about new projects and thoughts you have as young generation for our European Union. I'm very happy to see here participants of the event, our idea boosters. We have also guests from the young generation here, students from the Aachen University. We have a lot of people, representatives from youth organizations. Thank you for being here and taking the time to discuss with us. Welcome to the European Youth Hearing, which is a follow-up event to the excellent 2023 edition of the European Youth Event. We are upholding every 2 years. The flagship action of the European Parliament, allowing to engage with thousands of young people, discussing and debating on their ideas and concerns about the EU and beyond. As many of you might know, following the youth event in 2023, more than 1,000 ideas for Europe's future were collected by young people on youthideas.eu. The 15 most popular ones have been now compiled in the Youth Ideas report, shared with all members of the Parliament. At today's hearing, the top voted ideas from the 2023 will be brought forward and will be discussed here directly with the active participations of members of the European Parliament. In such a way, the European Youth Hearing is a key opportunity for young people to discuss their concerns with European policymakers ahead of the 2024 European elections and for members to highlight the legislative work already undertaken in these areas. This should allow us to get closer to young voters, reinforcing Parliament's democratic legitimacy and the ways in which it affects citizens' daily lives. This hearing will start with a short presentation of the 10 idea boosters, and young people will present the 10 most popular ideas, which also are their concerns as young voters in the run-up to the 2024 European election. Then the ideas will be debated into detail with members of the European Parliament, and following this hearing in the afternoon, the young people present here will facilitate workshops on each idea to develop their projects by discussing with experts from EU institutions, representatives from youth organizations, and even members to further develop their initiatives. But now I would like to give the floor first to the 10 idea boosters who will present the 10 most popular ideas from the 2023. And I would please ask you to introduce yourself and give us a short overview of the ideas you present. That is the name, the country they are coming from, where they live in, the idea that you will present. So give us a short introduction at the beginning. Now I give the floor. I'm honored to give the floor to the idea boosters. Please start.
Thank you so much.
Names.
My name is Ingrid. I'm from Estonia, and I'm here to represent the idea that every traineeship should be paid or funded.
Hello, I'm Francesco, and I'm from Italy, and I represent the idea to establish a common foreign policy.
Hi, I'm Marta. I'm from Poland, and my idea is don't include any country from Erasmus Plus program.
Thank you very much for this short presentation of the main ideas. And now I'm honored to give the floor to President Metsola for her welcome speech. Please, Roberta, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Sabine. Thank you, dear Chair, dear colleagues, dear participants and friends, dear young Europeans and idea boosters. Welcome, or should I say welcome back to the European Parliament. It is truly a pleasure to be part of this opening session of the European Youth Hearing, an event which follows the 2023 or European Youth event, where I witnessed firsthand the engagement of all of you and all the young people who are present in contributing to a better, safer and stronger Europe for all. As we've also just heard, following this year's over 1,000 impressive ideas were collected from young people across the continent, and the 15 most popular ideas are now gathered together in the Youth Ideas report. But to be clear, this is not just a compilation of ideas where we put them in one document and wait for the next event. If anything, this is a result of a collective effort, a journey that is filled with intense exchanges, with discussions and activities that took place at the Eye. It represents your dreams, your aspirations of a generation of Europeans that is actively shaping the future of Europe. So this Youth Ideas report covers a wide range of topics, from sustainability initiatives to educational opportunities, as we've just heard, and the digital transformation of our society. And I know that some of these ideas are already being rolled out and put into place by youth organisations across Europe, and I very much want to commend you for that. Now, when we look and when you see this event today, what would be the ideal outcome, so to speak? We would see it as a platform for meaningful dialogue and collaboration between young people and your elected representatives. This is the next step in bringing such top-voted ideas directly to your members of the European Parliament. It is an opportunity to discuss your concerns with European policymakers, while also listening to members as they discuss their legislative work. Sabine is our expert on that, in how to connect with young voters. Now, every day we get closer and closer to the 2024 European elections, and with every new geopolitical development, we are again reminded how important, how decisive the outcome of such elections will be, because the result of these elections will determine the path that we will take, and they will shape the decisions taken on the European level for the next 5 years. In fact, when you will speak to the colleagues, I mentioned Sabine, but we also have Dragos Pislaro here as chair of the EMPL Committee, Employment and Social Affairs Committee. This is the discussion we have every day. So this is a defining time in your lives, especially for those of you who have not voted before, even more so in those countries who have lowered their voting age to 16. So young people's voices reflect the evolving needs of society, and that is why it is important to listen, it is important to pass on the message, it is important to be clear and to recognise that each and every single vote matters. So I would very much encourage you to take away from here, from your experience, after the Eye, after this event, after meeting your members, after making new friends, new colleagues, new lifelong colleagues, I would say. That's how I started my youth activism, by meetings such as this, including some also in this room, in order to find your voice, whether offline or online, and participating in the election campaign and making your voice heard. Now, two concluding appeals. First of all, the Youth Ideas Report and the European Youth Hearing are not just symbolic gestures. They are powerful tools for shaping the policies and actions that will define our future. We need you to keep up your engagement. Besides voting, as I just said, be more than that, do more, criticise, ask, express doubt, and make your position heard. And secondly, here is the appeal to colleagues who are sitting up here. Let's listen to these ideas and take them on board. This is where we can put them in our campaign manifestos, when we are going to go from city to city, from village to village, as we go closer to the election. This is where the front runners of change are. And that is what we need to take with us, and that is what we hope you take away from here. So thank you very much, and enjoy, and good luck in the discussions you have. Thanks.
Dear President Metsola, dear Roberta, thank you very much for these words, and I think it is very important that you also showed that this hearing is important for the Parliament as a whole, and that we really take the concerns, the ideas, the interest of young people really serious in this House. And that's not just an alibi, but really something that works and that helps also to give input to our everyday's work. And that shows also that we have so many members at the moment present, and some more will follow during the hearing. Thank you very much for being here today. Now, I would first like to give the floor to Mrs. Ingrid Anido, who will tell us why all traineeships should be paid for or funded, and to present in more detailed form her idea.
Thank you very much, dear Chair, dear President, honorable members, as well as my fellow young people. Thank you for being here today. As we all know, every single year, young people finish their studies and embark upon their professional lives. And just like that, every single year, with inaction towards exploitative labor practices, young people fall into the same trap of unpaid traineeships. It leaves young people, us, in a precarious position in terms of our right to equal opportunities and our mental health, as well as our finances. This is why so many young people across our continent are calling for fair compensation for all traineeships. And also, we cannot let employers take the easy way out. They can just say that they'll scrap traineeships for a lack of funds. This is why, whether young people decide to stay in their home country, whether they decide to go abroad for a traineeship, they must have access to funds similar to Erasmus Plus that ensure that their basic needs, such as food, housing, as well as insurance, are covered fully. This funding must be accessible to all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I would like to turn to Mrs. Martgaja, who will develop a bit further on why we should not rule out any country from Erasmus+.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Mr. President, and members, and all of you young people here. I'm really happy that you're here. Today, I would like to address a significant issue plaguing our society in the 21st century: exclusion in the various forms, social inclusions, health inclusions, transport inclusions, and a lot of more, are all barriers that prevent individuals from reaching their full potential. As someone who comes from a small village, I have often experienced unequal access to the education compared to my peers from large cities. These gaps in education opportunities were stark, and it left me with a sense of frustration. I know that I'm not alone in these experiences. This is why I stand before you today to emphasize how important it is for all Europeans to have equal opportunities for education and development. On behalf of all young people, I appeal for no country to be excluded from Erasmus Plus program. Since 1987, this program has opened the doors to mobility and cooperation for over 12 million young participants. It has made the dream of international experiences and educational opportunities a reality for many in real. We cannot allow access to European programs to be subject of decisions of politicians. All young people should have the same rights to education, regardless of the country in which they live in. Thank you very much. Dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, I would like to introduce, thank you for introducing these ideas. And I will now open the debate with members of the European Parliament and MEP Dragos Pislaru. I give the floor also to you for 2 minutes to argument why all traineeships should be paid or funded.
Thank you very much, dear Chair. It is truly an amazing moment to be here. It's just a continuation of our activity in the Parliament. There was the Conference on the Future of Europe, where young people's voices were heard. Pay decent traineeships. We had the I-Conference, pay decent traineeships. And then in the Employment and Social Affairs Committee, we worked on making that a reality. And we have here with us the rapporteur, and I'm sure that she will tell you about her experience in that. But what is, in a nutshell, what we've delivered? We have adopted an act of the European Parliament calling the European Commission, very, very clear, not for a recommendation, for a directive for quality traineeships. Right now, the road is paved. The European Commission doesn't have margin of maneuver. They need to come with that. And we ask there, very clear things, adequate compensation. We ask there for social protection. We ask there for increased access to traineeships for vulnerable young people. We ask for accessible workplaces. And we also ask there for clear learning objectives so that young people will know exactly what is expected from them. So we are aware of that because we had a participatory process with the European Young Forum, attending all events, including your representatives, and we have delivered our part in pushing at an institutional level for this type of legislation. We are ready in the European Parliament to make that a promise that is going to be fulfilled, so not just yet another promise of politicians. And for that, we would like to thank you for advocating throughout Europe and through your organizations for this thing, which is important and quintessential for improving the way young people gain experience before having stable employment. So thank you very much for that, and I'm sure that you will find the European Parliament an ally in this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dragos. And as I have to leave earlier a little bit because of the time schedule of Roberta, I will pass over to you now. I just wanted to let you speak in peace. So we are now going on here with the next. Thank you very much.
It is. Thank you so much, dear Sabine. Yeah. Okay, so passing the role right now, exchanging the hat. It is my big pleasure to invite Alicia Holmes-Ginel on behalf of S&D to take the floor. Please, Alicia.
Yeah, thank you, Dragos. And well, I'm really happy to be here in this room full of young people. And going to the point of the paid internships, for those who doesn't know me, I'm Alicia Holmes. I'm 30 years old and I'm MEP. And not that long time ago, I was suffering this non-paid internships situation. That's why, since I engaged the youth from my party back to 2012, I'm a huge defender of this cause. And I want to say that thanks to our political party, we pushed a lot since the last mandate. I have Brando here, also this mandate, to ban the unpaid internships. Actually, we passed 5 resolutions where the ban was not passing because we didn't have the support. But in the last time, in a non-legislative file, we proposed for having a directive that was not easy at all, but we achieved it. And I'm happy to tell it to you because I was in the conference on the future of Europe. I have been in many European youth events, and it's a demand of you all. And we need to deliver to you. So I will be the rapporteur of this directive. We will start after now they are in negotiations with the social partners. And I hope that the Commission will deliver to this Parliament soon the document and that we will be able to introduce all the points that you shared with us, that are the points of all of you, and which I really share with all of you. So I will do my best for this to be possible. My political family will do its best to make it possible. And I hope that you all will be happy with the results and that finally we will end up with this situation that is unfair because it's one of the first steps in your way of life. So I think it's really important that there is no frustration in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, dear Alicia. And right now, it's my pleasure to invite Monica Semedo on behalf of Renew on the same topic. Please, Monica.
Now it works. Thank you very much, Chair. And thank you all, the young Europeans, for their contribution and ideas. This is very important. A good fact or good news is that 80%, almost 80% of young Europeans have done at least one traineeship. The bad news, almost or more than half of them were unpaid. But traineeships, they definitely facilitate the access to the job market in the future by 68%, which is much. And as the rapporteur of the legislative legislative initiative report, Quality Traineeships in the EU, I say clearly, yes, all traineeships should be paid or compensated. And why? And this lies close to my heart, because in average, a traineeship in the EU costs 1,000 euros, and not everyone can afford that, especially the less privileged. So, and therefore, it is crucial that traineeships in the EU are paid, covering, for example, at minimum, and you mentioned it, the cost of living necessities such as housing, food, transportation, but also taking into account the cost of living in each member state, of course. It is important. We must guarantee equal chances for everyone. And by quality traineeships, I mean, or we mean, not only that they are paid, but that you have a real learning experience, you have good working conditions, which is important, accessibility, for example, for people with disabilities, and mentorship are important. And these points are I also address in my report, and we need clear guidelines and criteria for quality traineeships. So that's why I call again upon the dear Commissioner Schmidt that we are waiting for his legislative proposal, because there's not much time left until the end of term. So, dear Mr. Schmidt, the clock is ticking. And I would like to thank also the European Youth Forum for the good cooperation. And thank you all for your contributions. We need you. You are the next generation. Merci.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It is my pleasure right now to invite on behalf of S&D our dear colleague, Honorable Hannes Heide, for his intervention on Don't Rule Out Any Country for Erasmus+. Please.
So thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, young Europeans, for this topic, because I think the most important political issue is education, or to speak with a former British Prime Minister about the three most important, it's education, education, education. And the EU often has problems to communicate about its success stories, and Erasmus Plus is one of these topics where we could create a better understanding of the European Union. And I'm a member of the CULT committee, which is responsible for young people, for culture and education. And because we here in this parliament were fighting for an increase of the amount for Erasmus+. It happened because there were ideas of cutting Erasmus+ funding. And so we were successful, and there are 28 billion euros for the times between 2021 and 2027. I was an author and co-author for Erasmus+ for countries like Switzerland and for the UK. And we agreed on that education is not cherry-picking. It's very important for understanding, and we should give opportunity to all these countries. And it's not a question of the ability of taking part in the Erasmus+. These countries also have to stick to the principles and to the rules of Erasmus+. So there was an open door, and there is an open door for the UK, and as well for Switzerland, which is very happy to participate. But the countries and their governments have to decide to be part of it. But European politics, and especially this House, opens the doors for Erasmus+. And if there is the question why in Hungary some fundings were frozen, then I have to say it is not because Hungary is excluded as such, but it has to stick the rules and principles, and it's also a question of transparency in the spending and in the receiving of money. And of course, I agree with you that it's not only about every country that agrees to the principle should have the opportunity to take part. Erasmus Plus is opportunity, and we should open it to all young people and to groups that had not the possibility to take place. And it should be an inclusive program and funding, and this is what we are working on and what we want to make real and to bring it into reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And let me then give the floor to our honourable colleague Andrea Bockschor. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much for the floor. And I'm grateful to young people to include this point in the youth report, and especially addressing the cautionary case of the Hungarian students as well in this point. As we all know, that the Erasmus Plus program has long been celebrated as a flagship of international cooperation and academic exchange, fostering understanding and diversity and unity across European borders. And it served also as a tool of diplomacy, expanding relationships beyond geographical boundaries and contribute to mutual understanding. And in a world rife with division and conflict, the Erasmus Plus program should be an example of unity and collaboration. And I know that we all want it. And therefore, it is very regrettable that the European Commission made young people become victims of a political disagreement between the European Union and the government of a particular member state. And the case of Hungarian students, professors, and researchers, I think, is very unique because they were punished unfairly and unjustly. To add a very important point, the right to choose the educational institution to learn in is a fundamental human right, and every student should have the right to choose and to participate in international exchanges, mobility programs like the Erasmus Plus, just like those students learning in state universities. And differentiating between Hungarian students according to their choice of universities is a big discrimination. So it is not only the loss of the students, but it's the loss of the European unity as well. And I think it's very regrettable because excluding countries can further exacerbate inequalities in education and research. It perpetuates the gap between institutions and students, destroys already existed cooperation, and creates huge disadvantage. So we have to work on that we can get back to the point. And just to make one more point, I think in the youth report there are some misleading points, because there's a statement that Erasmus funds in Hungary has never been the issue of concern by any European institution. And secondly, high-ranking governmental officials left the trust boards of the European Commission on the European Commission's concerns. So I think, to be clear, Hungary also wants to solve the situation, just like the European Union and as Hungarian students as well. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You have a nice sample of a debate in the European Parliament, and there are arguments on both sides. This is a debate about young people with young people, for young people, so the final word goes to young people. So, dear idea boosters, would you have anything to add? And let me start with you, Ingrid. Please, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the responses and all of the work that you're doing as well. We need support. We need the ear of decision makers, of course, to help this come to a reality that young people are no longer exploited for their labor. And there's always a tough balance between having a quality internship or traineeship, because to be frank, in a lot of cases, those are jobs. They are very frankly the responsibilities that are given to young people are equivalent to a job. And then they are masked in this kind of fake view of a traineeship or internship, but in reality it could very easily be an entry-level position. And by packaging it as a traineeship or internship or learning opportunity, whatever you call it, it's just another way that young people are being taken advantage of. So once again, thank you very much for listening to us, for assisting us, and I really hope that maybe not this class that's going to graduate in the coming spring, but the one after that will actually have the protections in order to have paid traineeships and internships for all. Thank you.
And thank you very much. Marta, your turn.
Yeah, I would like to thank you for your opinions and for your support and for your views on the topic. And I know that all of us young people here are really, really happy to have you here and to the fact that you understand our problems and you want to listen and you want to be here and just spend your time here with us. It's really important, and it's really important for me especially, because I really feel that it's the thing that we are doing are important. So I would like to thank you for your time, thank you for your opinions, and thank you for all of your views. And I hope that Erasmus Plus program will be more developing, and every single student have the chance to visit different countries, live abroad, and have this amazing opportunity, learn languages, and just be more educated and more development than ever. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much, and have a round of applause for our two first idea boosters. Just to let you know that languages are available due to our amazing team of interpreters: English, French, German, Italian, Spanish, and Polish. So please use that if you need it. I'm right now finishing this first round and pass the floor back to our dear chair, Sabine Verheyen, and a big thanks from all our colleagues from the Employment and Social Affairs Committee, and thank you very much for having me at this event. Thank you.
So, and I also would like to say thank you to Dragos for taking over and replacing me in chairing this meeting. Now we go on with the second round. I would now invite you to the discussion on the set of ideas which is more turned towards the EU as a global player. And I would also like to ask you to excuse me for the 15 minutes that I left. It was because we had to meet the president with a group of young people from the Youth Prize of Chalmaine. I would now like to give the floor to Mr. Francesco Giunelli, who will tell us how to be stronger together, establishing a common foreign policy. Francesco, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We, as Europeans, stand more united today than we've ever been in all of our history. Nevertheless, we're facing challenges our founding fathers would never have imagined. We thought the wars on the European soil would be a thing of the past. We were wrong. Some problems require everybody to get together and act as one. One of those problems is foreign policy. We will be able to cut administrative costs while also showing strength through unity on the world stage. Global events such as COVID and the war in Ukraine showed us why it's a must for all European nations to stay and act together. Citing Winston Churchill, united we stand, divided we fall. Supporting the treaties reform in late November is a good starting point, but your work, honourable MEPs, will not end there though. You are responsible today for our tomorrow, and the future generations will judge you accordingly. Thank you, and Slava Ukraini.
Thanks a lot, Francesco, for this thought-stimulating idea. And I would like to turn next to Mrs. Cruz-Glinka, is that right? Who will carry on with another idea on Europe as a global player, explaining us why Europe should be self-sufficient with raw materials. Please, the floor is yours.
Unknownly to many, critical raw minerals shape the foundation of our modern lives and they remain crucial to the progress and development of technologies needed for the digital and environmental transformations. As we look towards the future, it's imperative we, the youth, inform the policies shaping tomorrow. The EU needs to mitigate the risk towards supply chains related to critical minerals, ensuring current strategic directions are fit for long-term resilience. COVID-19 and the war in Ukraine have highlighted the vulnerabilities of the EU. Investment and innovation are core to realizing the Critical Raw Minerals Act. However, the needs for the EU's prosperity must be balanced against the commitment to life, and we mustn't enable suffering in places such as the DRC. The future of the youth mustn't come at the expense of youth elsewhere, through environmental degradation and exploitation of others.
So thank you very much, and now I'm open. I think it is a very important input we got, and now I would open the floor for the discussions with the MEPs. And first I would give the floor to MEP Salima Yenbou from Renew. The floor is yours for 2 minutes. Please, Salima.
Merci beaucoup, chère Sabine. Merci à vous. Je suis vraiment...
Many thanks, dear Sabine. Many thanks, everybody. I'm delighted to be here as a former teacher. I spend all my Fridays with youngsters like you to work on these topics and on these issues, how to improve Europe, because this is the Europe that we are working on, and you will be the one living in it, and you're totally right, sir. So foreign policy and common security policy has been strengthened by the Lisbon Treaty in 2009. We have created High Representative for the Union for Foreign Policy and Security Policy in the person of Joseph Borrell, and we have set up a European Diplomacy Service that we call SEA, but the common adjective that is part of this title, when we are truthful and when we look at the member states, they have an essential role in the definition of a foreign policy of the European Union, and we also have the decision-making process by unanimity of the European Council and the EU Council that blocks all of this. So I'm totally in agreement with you. You are totally right. It is even more necessary today to develop a common foreign policy for a strong, united Europe, of course, and especially following the last events that took place in the world that you have mentioned, and when we are faced with the challenges that we have at the moment. So towards a geopolitical Europe, Borrell has declared that the geopolitical weakness of Europe was the war in Ukraine at the last plenary, and also the need for Europe to speak in one common voice, to be listened to on the international stage. And it's true that at the moment the hesitations as well as the cacophony that was perceived from the outside regarding the war between Israel and Hamas, but also with the agreement with Tunisia, shows the weaknesses of this foreign policy of Europe today, and the need to deal with a common European foreign policy. So I think that's important to coordinate internally and also to remind and remember the positions taken and the decisions taken lately. These are unilateral decisions. But on the outside, not everybody knows how the European Union works. Everybody talks in the name of the European Union. I think that this is something at stake in order for Europe not to be decriminalized by sending some contradictory messages. It's important to have one common, unique message. So your intervention comes at the right time. This is the right time to talk about the questions of the treaties. We will have to deal with this. This is a key point on that topic, because if we do not change the treaties, we will carry on being slowed down in our decision-making process because of the unanimity rule. And some decisions are way too important to depend on the vetoes from some member states. There is a commission. This is AFCO. It works on these treaties, and I think that it's going in the right way. And we are working on this, and your proposals will feed our debates. And in any case, I invite you to follow these debates. I think that this will be a real topic to be debated at the next elections in 2024, and I'm certain that you will participate in this fully. Many thanks.
Thank you very much. I just would like to remind also our colleagues to stick like our young presentations here to stick to the speaking time a little bit more. So, because the young people were really wonderful in keeping their time, I also would beg the politicians to do so. Thank you very much. The next is MEP Mohammed Khahim. It's right, the pronunciation?
It's good enough.
Good enough. Thank you very much. I give you the floor.
A couple of minutes extra.
I give you the floor for 2 minutes on Europe should be self-sufficient with raw materials. Yeah. Please, the floor is yours.
First of all, I missed your name. What was it? Cruz. Cruz, I think your contribution is very important. I mean, I do think when it comes to critical raw materials or the energy transition, we should rethink our relation with the rest of the world. But also we should rethink what we want to have. Do we want strategic partnerships based on equality, or do we want colonialism 2.0? Because I don't think the world is waiting for that. So let me be very honest. Yes, long-term resilient supply chains, but please, long-term strategic partnerships with countries in Africa, South America, etc., based on equality. This is something I would love to develop. And I can assure you that the Parliament's team that's negotiating on the Critical Raw Materials Act has that in the core. I don't want to bore everyone too much on this topic, but I do want to say, if you have any ideas, if you have any comments related to critical raw materials, slide in the DMs of politicians, send an email to your representative, and I can assure you, most people sitting here listen. And when we get emails, we read them. We even answer. So please inform us, send us, bother us with knowledge, with ideas, because we take decisions today that will affect you tomorrow and will affect the generation coming after you tomorrow. So make sure that not only come to these events, but keep on pushing when it comes to this agenda, when it comes to a more equal world where we have access to knowledge and technology, because both will be essential for the green transition and for critical raw materials. And I'll give you 20 seconds back, Chair.
Thank you very much. A very good example on coming to the point in a short time. Perfect. Thank you. Now I give the floor to Hildegard Bentele, also on the issue of should Europe be self-sufficient with raw materials?
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, you have put a very provocative thesis, I would say, should be self-sufficient. I mean, we are a long way from being self-sufficient, so because we are highly dependent. And what we are now looking for is to become a little bit less dependent and also to share a little bit the burden, because currently the mining is done in some countries, but very little in Europe. So if we talk about a just development, then it's just fair that we talk about mining in Europe. And here this concerns you, because we are talking about modern mining, new mining, a mining which looks at its environmental impacts. And there are many good jobs in mining. Maybe a lot of you have thought it's only coal mining or so on, it's dirty jobs. But these are high-tech jobs. So and we need young people who invest themselves into these sectors. Because what is it all about? It is about zero-emission technologies. What do we talk about? Why do we need so many critical raw materials? Because we want to expand renewable energies, because we want to start with hydrogen production, because we want efficient motors, because we want electric vehicles. So this is your future. These are the technologies you will live with, because we have to transform our energy system, because we have to transform our mobility systems. So this is why I think we have to rethink, mining, and we have to rethink our needs. But I would say it concerns you because it has also job potential.
Thank you very much, Hildegard Bentele. And I would like to give the floor back to our young idea boosters. And first, I would like to give the floor to Francesco Gunelli. You have the floor for 1 minute to repeat.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe the right thing to say right now is that Europe is based on reaction, not action. We see what's happening, and then we decide what we're going to do with it. There's no vision. It's always we're running behind problems. This specific idea and the reform of the treaties, it's all about what European Union you will leave us. You are now here today as MEPs. You have the power to decide what's going to happen. So I'm looking forward to the conference and seeing what you propose and what is proposed by Europe on all levels to change what's happening here. You know, I read the 400 amendments that the Parliament has proposed to this reform of the treaties. It's very heartwarming in some places because you have very, very significant proposals taken in place by MEPs, and it's very, very, very important that you follow through with this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for changing the treaties, we need the support of all the citizens in Europe. Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Cruz Klinka. You also have the floor for 1 minute to repeat on what you have heard.
So thank you for your contributions. I wholeheartedly agree that we need to be very careful that the green transition doesn't become another form of colonialism. And that's a very important point. When you see some of the pictures in places like the DRC with kids mining, it's really disgusting, frankly. And so it's important that we are very conscious of how we're doing our practices. And then on the other point, I just want to add is when we look at how we can get these resources inside Europe, we need to make sure that we are protecting the environment, because many communities where we're looking at exploring mining aren't very happy about the strategy. So we need to make sure that it's a consultative process that integrates them into it. Thank you.
So I would like to say thank you for this insightful discussion, and definitely there are many excellent ideas that can be carried over into our policy making. And I think the exchange should not be just today, but also in future on all these topics, because they are relevant, not just for us here as policymakers, but especially for the young generation for the future. And now let's move to the third set of ideas. This time we will be looking into ideas how to improve our education processes. Mrs. Celine Como will tell us how teach more about the EU in schools. And to be honest, that is something I'm crying out loud each and every day to do that. So please tell us, what are your ideas to do that?
Thank you, Chair. Dear honourable members of the Parliament, I'm representing the idea of teaching more about the EU in schools. As stated in the youth report, less than 1% of the population of under 18 years old in the European Union comes across a topic at school in their different levels of education. However, even though there is no common legal framework that enforces countries to teach more about the EU in schools, EU institutions has increased their visibility by doing simulation games or teaching or having materials that increases the knowledge regarding the EU. But why is it important to teach more about the EU? It is important because it is quite obvious that it affects young people's everyday life, and it strengthens the sense of a common European identity, which will lead to make European Union more self-reliant in the long term. After having the theoretical approach, having more visits and getting a practical sense of how these entities work will make young people more visible, will make young people more knowledgeable of how European Union works, and this will make us to go towards a more sustainable and inclusive future together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and it's good for us as CULT Committee and many members of CULT Committee to know that we have such engaged young people on our side, because we are asking the Member States since years to do more in this field, and in each and every report we do on education, this is not missing. But we have to convince the Member States that the EU is important, because otherwise we will not come a step forward. So thank you very much. And next will be Mrs. Mary-Rosanne van Helten. She will tell us how to introduce sustainability education in schools. And I think that's also, especially for the young generation, a very important topic. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Well, during the European Youth Event, a main idea was the introduction of sustainability into schools. Why do we care? Well, there's a high awareness among 15-year-olds of climate change and the environmental crisis, and the need to address this. Moreover, more than half of young people has experienced climate anxiety. We know climate change is a problem, but data shows that far fewer students feel a sense of agency to make a real difference. Now, I and many other young people with me argue for sustainability education in schools. The youth in the EU wants the school curriculum to emphasize environmental protection. They want to learn more about climate change and what they can do in the form of sustainable development. Young people want to learn and want to learn about what is needed to turn climate change around. Give them this opportunity by making these themes part of the normal school curriculum.
Thank you very much for this input. And now I would like to turn to our MEP, Dominic Ruiz de Vesa. He's rapporteur on the European Parliament's report on European citizenship education and will speak on Teach More about the EU in schools. Please, you have the floor, Dominic.
Muchas gracias, querida presidenta. Gracias, por supuesto, a...
Thank you all. Thank you to the youth who've presented these ideas. I agree with you. As the President has pointed out, we are already working on it. We have passed a report on some training measures at European level because we acknowledge that EU citizens need to be trained a bit more on the EU institutions, and we have proposed a couple of ideas: a common curriculum for European society. So this initiative is about teaching about the EU institutions, and that can be implemented by some member states, and we can work on it with the European Commission. And we also worked on a specific module on education that would be included in all programs financed by the EU, and these modules will focus on Erasmus+, on solidarity at EU level as well, on training that is funded by the social program. So this module will be part, as I said, of a specific training, and thanks to these initiatives, will have a concrete impact on how we teach about EU, and we will increase that 1%. So this idea was also discussed in the Conference of Europe, and we addressed such training in all member states. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dominic. And now I will give the floor to MEP João Albuquerque on the same idea. Please, João, you have the floor.
It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you very much. It was a pleasure to meet many of you in Strasbourg, and now a pleasure to be with you here. And I apologize that I need to leave immediately after speaking because we have the discussion on the European Disability Card in the Employment Committee starting right now. I will not go on further analysis of what Dominic just said. I second everything that he said, but I think that this should go hand in hand with a broader discussion of what we want for education, for schools. I think schools need to be playing a different role as we have now, including to be fundamental safe spaces for people where they can actually be themselves and have the conditions to be themselves and have the support to be themselves, to focus on nutrition, for example, and also to have a strong engagement regarding citizenship. I think we need to understand what is the role of us as citizens. Are we just consumers? Are we just voters? Are we just electors, people that participate in this process, or are we also active citizens? And I think this is something that needs to be included in the curricula all throughout the educational system in Europe, not only with the focus on what is the reality and the functioning of the European Union, because it is fundamental to create the awareness of the importance of this institution, but also how to create and to build citizens that are more actively engaged in the transformation of their own communities, even on a local level. So I think this is fundamental that we consider this strategy and this proposal that you are bringing forward of fostering the promotion of education and to include EU curricula in school systems, together with a different view on what is active citizenship and participation and what is the role of school in all of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, João. And now I come to the next speaker from the Parliament. It's Marcos Ros-Sempere, and he will tell us how he believes we can introduce sustainability education in schools. Please, Marcos.
Gracias, Sabine. Mari Rosan, la crisis climática en el...
It's true that the climate crisis is already here. It's clear, and it's going to change our lives in the following years. And here in the Parliament, we're working to create policies to create a more sustainable world that will leave no one behind. But for this, we need education, as you said, and we need a trained citizenship that can deal with the digital transformation. And we can only do that through the education system. Strong, resilient education systems that are public and that can offer a quality education for everyone. In 2023, we celebrated the Year of Skills, and it's a way of progressing within Europe, having education and training as a base. And this education needs to be linked to the civic citizenship education. And also, we need to take into account the importance of the environmental education. We are working in this agenda, and we want to create the European education space in 2025, a more ambitious space. In this project, we have worked closely with other initiatives because, for example, improving the sustainability of our buildings doesn't have to sacrifice the beauty of said buildings. And one of the 15 ideas that have been more voted within this project is in this report has been the sustainability education. So yeah, we do support the sustainability education in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcos. And now we'll ask our idea boosters if they would like to answer. Please, Selina Kuma, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Firstly, I would like to thank you for your interventions and your own opinions, because as it was stated before, education is one of the most important topics that we need to talk about and actively act on it. So teaching more about the EU will make us more aware to behave as active citizens, as we will come across topics such as the rule of law and strong democracies. And something additional that I would like to add is that coming from Albania, a country that aspires to join the European Union, I'm really looking forward for your actual and concrete recommendations on how we need to work on it and become more engaged on this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Meryl Rosanne van Helten for her replies. Thank you.
Thank you for your input, dear members of Parliament. I am happy to hear that there are so many sustainable policies already in the EU, and the EU does have a leading role in these practices. I agree that with the new age comes new skills, and I'm happy that the EU is focused on these new skills. I agree it is an important basis that everyone needs access to. Everyone needs the opportunity to have education on sustainable practices and access to these new skills so that we have a strong workforce for the future. I would argue that we need this as quickly as possible because, as you said, climate change is already here. So I really hope that we will, in the future, as soon as possible, have strong education on sustainability practices to also further your policies. Thank you.
Thank you very much for yet another very interesting and fruitful discussion and for your input. And now I would invite our next idea boosters to take the floor and talk about climate change and sustainability. Mr. Adrian Kosmin-Pop, please, you have the floor.
Yes,
you will talk about climate change is wreaking havoc on our health. Make it a priority to change that.
Yeah, it's a pretty long title, right?
Yeah.
So, we all know by now that the burning of fossil fuels is the main cause of climate change and air pollution, and data shows that air pollution contributes to asthma and allergies development, and in turn, climate change aggravates these diseases. 1 in 2 Europeans will suffer from an allergy by 2025, and cases of asthma are rising, with large statistical differences between countries, showing the lack of prevention and research in this area. 98% of Europeans are breathing highly polluted air, Eastern Europe and poor communities being most affected, and air pollution kills annually in Europe more than 400,000 people, and half could be preventable by imposing WHO guidelines. With chronic illness, they are a burden to our public health systems. So to solve these problems, we should set bolder deadlines for the Clean Air Package and bring together patients, doctors, innovators and entrepreneurs to accelerate patient-driven solutions, implement guidelines on national prevention campaigns and boost research for a better understanding of the current status of diseases aggravated by climate change, and also boost investments in telemedicine and other digital tools to better assess the health status and development of disease of these patients. Thank you.
Thank you very much for raising this very important topic. And now I give the floor to Arno Charles Berg. The floor is yours to tell how to stop food waste in the EU, helping the most vulnerable. And I think food waste is something we are already dealing with. Please, yes, you have the floor.
Indeed, thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you all know, currently 33% of all food in Europe is either lost or wasted, while at the same time 20% of the European population is at risk of poverty or social exclusion. While this is a big problem, it's also a big opportunity for us to fight both food waste and hunger at the same time. To tackle this, we will need collaboration between governments, businesses and citizens. We call on the European Parliament to propose legally binding targets that obligate shops and businesses to donate all surplus food before its expiration date to the hungry and poor. In France, this is already the case, and it has already shown significant impacts locally. Luckily, there are already countless organizations and initiatives dedicated to address this issue. So let's shine light on these initiatives and create a supportive system where they can make their change, and that way we can solve our food waste. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I would open the floor again for another round of MEPs. And first I have Sarah Cerdas, and you have the floor for 2 minutes to talk about climate change and health.
Thank you very much, Chair, and I would like to congratulate all the idea boosters and the incredible proposals you have put forward on the table and the importance of accountability. When we decided and stated that climate crisis was an emergency back in November 2019, we were also basically stating that this climate emergency is a health crisis, because you mentioned many of the issues related to climate change and health, but we need to be consequential, and we have done that through the European Health Report for 2021-2027, when we have an approach with one health approach, meaning considering the environmental, the animals' health, and the human health as intertwined. But we also need more multi-sectorial approaches. And we need to be consequential with what we decide here in this House. And I'll give you an example. 10% of cases of cancer come from pollution. And we are here battling and trying to increase our air quality in the EU, hence reducing air pollution. We cannot go and ask for a very competent, very ambitious cancer plan without addressing the causes of cancer. We cannot ask for a beating cancer plan, a very important proposal, and then vote against better air quality in Europe. That's what's happening at the moment, and accountability needs to be done and have a priority when we come into the next elections, because we're losing the velocity when it comes to dealing with the climate crisis, and climate crisis is a health crisis.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And now I would turn to Irena Joveva for 2 minutes on the same topic, climate change and health, and how to make it a priority. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. And of course, thank you also everyone else for sharing your ideas. It was great hearing them and also reading them. I'm specifically glad that you have chosen this connection between the climate change and health as one of your priorities, because indeed you are right. We already heard from my colleague. Climate change is and will continue to greatly affect our well-being, our bodies, our health, and consequently our quality of life. And as you have rightly mentioned, climate change brings on climate hazards. This summer, actually, in my country, Slovenia, we had really devastating floods. There were regions that were completely cut off from the rest of the country. No drinking water, no electricity, and it severely affected also the health of our citizens. So I know now even more firsthand, what this correlation means. Not only are the symptoms of diseases worsened in the climate hazards, it's when diseases are born. So the fact is that all around Europe, climatic conditions are making the emergence and transmission of climate-sensitive infectious diseases even more prominent in our continent. I'm also glad that in the report you have connected cancerogenic chemicals in this topic, but I think that you could have gone even broader with this. As you know, for several years we have been debating and arguing also against excessive usage of pesticides. And we need to, consume high-quality, chemicals-free food if we want to increase health of our citizens. So if I just circle back, although I completely agree that we need to put more focus on health when making climate-related policies, I still believe that even if we don't explicitly say so, it's something that comes out as a byproduct. Anyway, because every successfully implemented climate policy will inevitably have positive health benefits. A healthier environment means healthier people. It's that simple. I have taken note of what you said and also of what you wrote in your report, and in my continuous efforts to improve healthcare throughout Europe, I will do utmost for it to be included also in further legislations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Irena. Thank you very much, Irena. And our last speaker in this round is Malte Gallet, and you have 2 minutes for speaking on Stop Food Waste in the EU, helping the most vulnerable. Please, Malte, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and I have to admit I totally agree with that idea that we have to oblige the supermarkets and the restaurants to give away, to donate their food. But as it is in the current state, people that try to save the food from supermarkets, for example, in Germany, where I'm from, they are punished for this. They're brought to court for saving food out of the bins. And I think this is the first step to make this a legal act and to decriminalize it if people really engage in saving food, and also providing more food accessibility to everyone, actually. So I think the main task should be to focus on the big corporations, on the supermarkets, because if we look at food waste, often I think there's far more food waste than what we talk about, because what is in the product count. Because the supermarkets, they say, okay, no, this carrot looks ugly, I don't buy it. And I think this is already where we should start, where we should make sure that all the food that is produced and that is eatable, that does not poison anybody, that we make sure that this food also comes to somebody who can eat it at a later point. And by this we of course, would have far more food on the market in the very first place. So currently, actually, we are working on legislation to reduce the food waste. We want to try to also put reduction targets for the production phase and also for the processing phase and so on. So we are on it. We're not as motivated, or the Commission proposal is not as strong as we expected it. We wanted to stick to 50% reduction until 2030, to stick to our SDGs as we have it there. We will fight for it in the next month, so let's see how far we get. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just allow me to say one sentence. I would be happy if some regulations we made on the European level that hinder industry to use these products for production would also be eliminated, because we are sometimes making our problems ourselves. But we can talk about that perhaps later. Now we come to the feedback of our ideas boosters on both topics, and I first like to give the floor to Adrian Kosmin-Pop.
So thank you very much for your answers. I'm happy that you're taking note of everything that we're saying and proposing, and you're working actively on that. But on a different note than the health issue related to climate change, is that I personally think Europe has the potential to reach net zero by 2050 through innovation. But what we really need to do in the next decades is to establish strategic partnerships with all the other major polluters all around the world, because even if we take all the carbon emissions in Europe, there's still going to be decades until our own people can benefit from this. So to achieve that, I think Europe needs to lead the way to net zero, and it needs to have a strong position in regard to phasing out fossil fuels urgently at COP28. And this should be done with no longer wait, because the health of our citizens can wait no longer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Arno Charles Berg.
Thank you again. I completely agree with everything you said. While I was reading and preparing this speech, this was exactly what I had in mind, only in 1 minute. It was a bit shorter. Indeed, we have come used to such perfect apples in the store. Unfortunately, businesses will always want more profit. That's how businesses work. We need to, as citizens, convince each other that the apple with like the small speckle on it is also eatable and perfectly delicious. So I think that's something that we all are into together. And as I pointed out in my speech, this is a collaboration. It's not only big corporations, it's also us as active citizens that needs to work on this, and I believe that we can. Later on we have the beautiful workshop. Feel free all to join us, where we will work out a concrete plan to do this in a local level, and hopefully we can expand. So I'm looking forward for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I think I have to say thank you to all of our speakers, and I turn now to the last round of the ideas to talk about disinformation and AI. So first is, we have the change first. Thank you. First is Mrs. Megia Petinena, it's right?
Megia Petinena, but it was close.
Megia Petinena, and I will tell, she will tell us it is important to add disinformation warnings as a default on all news sites unless they share all their sources of information. And the floor is yours.
Thank you. Disinformation is a serious threat to democracy and trust in the media. And it is especially harmful to young people who are more likely to be exposed to it and less likely to be able to identify it. That is why we propose to require all news sites to add disinformation warnings by default unless they state all the information sources. This would make it easier for people to identify and also avoid unreliable news sources. While there is no existing EU legislation that proposes a similar initiative, there are, for example, the proposed Media Freedom Act and Digital Services Act, which both aim to address disinformation in different ways. However, neither act goes as far as stipulate that disinformation warnings should be visible on the news sites. This is why implementing this regulation would be a necessary step to ensure that all Europeans have the access to reliable information. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this very inspiring input. And now I give the floor to Claire-Sophie Patzig, as she has an idea on how to support for innovative projects in the field of artificial intelligence. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Artificial intelligence, as different as the narrative surrounding the consequences of AI on the labor market and democracy may be, they are united by an uncertainty for a future shaped by AI. With the ambitious AI Act come new challenges, which, if we are to set global standards, will require the necessary financial support for research. Therefore, I, a computer science student myself, represent the proposal for more programs to promote the development of innovative projects in the field of artificial intelligence by providing grants and other support to universities and research institutions, as well as artists and media projects. These funds make it possible to enable interdisciplinary research, in particular not detached from computer science, but with computer scientists, so that we can find an ethical and sustainable approach to AI as a society.
Thank you very much. And I would like to turn to our members of the Parliament again. And first I give the floor to MEP Maite Pagazaurtundua. That's right?
Muchas gracias. Bueno.
Thank you very much. I am very happy to hear about this measure on disinformation warnings as a default on all news sites, unless they share the same sources of information. We thought about it as well, but it didn't go through, and we struggled, but we had a very similar idea. So, the Media Freedom Act is currently being negotiated between Member States and the Parliament, and we need several outcomes from this negotiation. Transparency, on the first place. And also, we need to identify what is fake and what is not. And this will help us tremendously. And it will help you, the youth, because, let's be honest, disinformation has been around forever, but because we are connected to our phones and we can all access this information and assimilate it, this is new to us. And we are all aware of how important it is to use these devices and information properly. Therefore, we need to include that dimension in all discussions with member states. When I was your age, more or less, and it's been a while, I was very lucky because where I studied, we learned about Aristotle. And since then, well, now we can see smartphones and AI, but Aristotle has is linked to this, because against the current situation, Aristotle's thoughts will help us identify what is fake and what is not, and that's been very helpful for me throughout the years. So maybe that's an advice I would like to share with you all. Thank you very much.
Is MEP Lara Ferrara for 2 minutes, again on adding disinformation warnings as a default on all news sites. Please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure for me to be with you in Strasbourg, and it's again a great pleasure for me to be here in Brussels with you, hearing your ideas and your proposals. Indeed, I appreciate a lot your proposal to add warnings on websites that talks about news. As Maite said before, we worked a lot about that in the Inge Special Committee. A part of this political experience, I am a lawyer, so it's like a way of thinking. When we talk about disinformation, I mean, the first thing that we should need is a juridical definition of what is disinformation. And what I realized during the works done in the committee and also during the parliamentary missions, still now we don't have a juridical definition of what is disinformation. And this is of utmost importance because if we have a juridical definition of what is disinformation, we should recognize when to act, who could act, and how to act to prevent disinformation. So a proposal like the one that you made is very important because it's like an academical approach, indicating the sources. You are able to understand better the truth or the lies and to get a better knowledge. So thank you very much. And when you will reply, I'm curious to know better what do you think about the possibility to have at least some criteria to have a definition of disinformation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And finally, I would like to welcome MEP Diana Riba-Ejiner, and she wants to speak on both topics, on innovative projects in the field of artificial intelligence and on disinformation warnings as a default on all news sites, but also for 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Voy a hablar también en español. Lo bueno de ser la última también es que...
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. We not often get to exchange our views with young Europeans, so thank you very much. And thank you for the dynamics of the meeting, because yes, it's very fast and we only have 1 minute, but that's the case as well in the Parliament, and this is, well, enough to talk about these ideas. So thank you for organizing this meeting. I think that we should do it more often. We've said it. AI is a key factor in our daily lives. It's a key factor for citizens, politics, institutions, and it's drawing a lot of attention. So we do need an artificial intelligence act, and this is a tricky one because, as my colleague said, what is disinformation? What is good information? So we are working on a regulatory framework on all these concepts, and it's very tricky because it's difficult to regulate freedom as well, especially because we are dealing here with almost philosophical concepts, but we need to regulate these concepts, and this is happening already with the Media Freedom Act. And we need to know who is providing the information, right? Who is writing these articles? What media? Who is funding that piece of information? We are facing a huge challenge, but with this Media Freedom Act, with this Act on Artificial Intelligence, we are working on it, and we're working on this regulatory framework. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Diana. And now I would give the floor back to our 2 young people, our idea boosters. First, Mikia, you have the floor.
Yeah, so thanks a lot for your inputs. First of all, I am very happy to hear that, young Europeans are on the same level as, members of the European Union, and we are, let's say, discussing similar kind of actions toward fighting disinformation. And to be fair, when I was listening to your comments, that was one of the first things which kind of came to my head, that actually, I guess we have now came to the next step, which should be done to fight the disinformation, would be then actually to kind of formally kind of put this understanding behind what is disinformation, so we can move forward, because we have to understand that obviously, as we have seen in the past years, propaganda and overall disinformation is, becoming larger and larger threat for us, and especially in these fragile times we are living now, it would be more than important to stand up for the truth. So that's why we'll be looking forward to see how this develops in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Claire-Sophie Patzig, you have the floor.
I want to use this last minute not only to stress that we are talking about applications like ChatGPT if we are talking about AI. We are also talking about the impact it has on the climate, about the energy consumption, about the water consumption, about the hardware behind it, how it changes our definition of knowledge, how we create knowledge, where the data is coming from, and also who labels the data, under which working conditions. So I just want to urge you to always also look at this side of this topic, and not only about, the fun part about how impressive AI can be if we look at applications like ChatGPT, for example.
Thank you very much. I think that was a very important input, especially also when it comes to the multiple layers of challenges and chances that lie in the AI. And so I think I'm looking forward also to further exchanges with all of you, because you raised a lot of very important topics today. And now I would like to introduce to you our Vice President of the European Parliament, Mrs. Pina Pincerno. She is responsible for the AI event. And Mrs. Pincerno, you have the floor for 3 minutes for a final statement on the summaries and the discussions. Thank you for being here today with us.
Thanks, Sabine. Grazie Sabine. Grazie naturalmente.
Thank you, Sabine, Maite, Laura, Anna Riba. With all of you, they animated this debate, so thank you very much for listening to the suggestions, the idea that came, and particular thank you to all of you young girls and boys, because you shared your ideas with passion, the ideas collected in the I report, I 2023. I had the privilege, and that's exactly what it is, I had the privilege to listen to your voice in June during the event we had in Strasbourg. We discussed together the different topics, and we listened to you, to your stories, and I saw through your eyes the heart of Europe beating, and I'm very glad to see that moment of sharing didn't stop there, and thanks to the members of Parliament, for the whole Parliament staff. So this exchange, this sharing is going to be transformed into something practical, and all of you are invited to become the ambassadors of the ideas that we shared, that we discussed over the last months. You have to propose projects to help us in turning this project into realities. So, as you know, the European elections are around the corner, so your contribution, your ideas, and in particular the participation of all young Europeans is going to be fundamental to make this election a success. And I think that your ideas today are a huge source of commitment, from foreign policy or the self-sufficiency of raw materials, so the fact of having paid traineeship, Erasmus plus, a greater education on sustainability, climate change, or food waste, and artificial intelligence or disinformation warnings. All these topics are crucial, and they must be turned into real topics of debate in view of the public European debate for the elections, because your priorities must be at the core of the debate, because Europe always represented this, future, the need for a greater and a better future that we can reach through a joint work. And future is you. You represented it today as well. Your ideas, the ideas you support and share. And so I'm very happy because all the suggestions you share today are not just linked to, youth politics. For sake of time, I would like to mention just one remark that I really embrace. So the need for a common EU foreign policy. One of the most important reform that we need to be stronger together. We need to speak with just one voice so that we can, we can speak with just one voice with the rest of the world. So we need to foster a common foreign policy. Otherwise, we won't be a political body. That's something fundamental in order to strengthen our union. So if we want to meet the needs, if we want to reply to the concerns of young voters, we have to listen to what young people are saying when they are marching on the streets, when they publish their opinions online, and, of course, on what they said on the Youth Idea report. That's why this hearing is a very important tool for the Parliament, for all of us, because there's no doubt when young people feel they are heard, then they'll have the opportunity to commit and to take part with a great involvement to the political process. By interacting in an open way, we can inspire a new generation of voters who are going to shape the future of our continent and who can promote a more inclusive democracy where every single voice can find its own space. So I hope that all the young people here today coming from the different international associations, they can, take home important messages. They can find motivation to widespread these ideas everywhere, through every mean, and to contribute to transform them into something real, into a, piece of future, as we said. Because the most, visionary ideas, some utopias as well, because these ideas are the ones who created the revolution of the past century. Never forget that, you know, people who wrote in Ventotene, the manifesto, which was the pillar for the European construction. They were young people at that time, and they were in an island, in that island, because freedom was limited due to a horrible dictatorship. And through that condition, they kept on looking, you know, forward, even if fascism, you know, was removing their freedom. So young people, never forget that young people were animating the future of our continent. In Maidan Square, in Europe, in Kiev, which was not so focused, they were manifesting for Europe with the flags on the shoulders, and due to that, many young people died in that square. So the memory of revolutions, you know, brought along by young girls, young European boys. So we need to listen to your voices with the utmost care. So I'm here to state clearly that we stand with you. We are here. We listen to all of you with great attention, and we are ready to follow this pathway that sometimes seems, you know, maybe more challenging, sometimes seems blocked, but we are ready to build with all of you the Europe of the future, the one placing at the center of our commitment young generation. So thank you all for your daily commitment and for your participation today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice President Di Pina, for the strong statement for young people. And I now would like to give the floor at least to Cruz again for a final statement representing all of the idea boosters today. Please, you have the floor.
Firstly, on behalf of all of us, I would like to say thank you. Thank you for welcoming us to the European Parliament. We are glad to have so many of you in the room today. Thank you to the member of the European Parliament for listening, asking questions and providing input. Your attendance is greatly appreciated. It demonstrates the importance of youth perspectives and ideas, and shows that this Parliament is paying attention to what young people want and have to say. It has been exciting to present the most popular ideas from the Youth Ideas report coming from EYE 2023. You have listened to 10 of us today stepping in as ambassadors for these ideas, but we want to highlight that this is the culmination of many young people's efforts who have contributed to the process over the last few months. The European Youth Hearing is one important step to take the voices of young people seriously, but this process needs to continue. We hope that the ideas we presented to you today will keep being discussed, and that you will take inspiration from our exchanges today, and that you will take these ideas forward in your legislative work. On our side, we are committed to taking these ideas forward. This afternoon, we will lead 10 workshops, with each of these workshops aimed at developing the idea further and turning them into concrete projects. We want this process to continue beyond today. Each one of us will be working on implementing a concrete project by spring 2024, which we are planning to present during the European Youth Week in 2024 in the Parliament. We are committed to concrete actions from these proposals. For us young people in the room, the European Youth Hearing is a great reminder to keep pushing for the change we want to see. We need to keep speaking up about the things we care about. We need to make our voices heard. Pushing for the change we want to see can take many forms. It can be a project, it can be a petition, it can be a demonstration, it can be as simple as starting discussions with friends. To support our voices, needs and concerns, we should actively partake in the decision-making process. Finally, I want to make a call to action to the youth. Your vote in the 2024 European election matters. It ensures that we can contribute to more relevant and inclusive policies for our generations and those to come. We should actively shape the European Union we want to live in, ensuring our concerns and perspectives are heard and addressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of you, to the young idea boosters, to our guests, to the colleagues who took part in the hearing. This hearing has once again brought us the proof that young people are not only our future, they are actually very active, developing ideas and solutions and shaping our present and giving us direction for the way ahead. And after listening to you, I'm convinced that you are indeed, beyond any doubt, our most valuable asset and source for a new spirit and ideas. Not only are you bringing fresh and new ideas and approaches to the global challenges the EU is facing, but you also show a keen commitment to working towards a more sustainable, innovative and competitive, yet socially fair European project by investing your energy, your time and your ideas, your brains, your activities to this common European idea. The proficiency and determination with which you bring your ideas to the policy making today makes us proud. It also puts a lot of responsibility on our shoulders, and that's clear that we should not have here just a hearing for one day, but really work on your ideas and what you are doing here. I would like to make a clear commitment as chair of the CULT committee, the committee responsible for youth policies in general, not only to listen to your ideas, but also to take you as close as possible to the actual decision-making processes by mainstreaming youth policies into all policy fields. What I'm still missing, even we organize such hearings like today, is that every committee should do that. Because what you have to tell us, what you have to inspire us to, is not just for the CULT committee, not just for the committee on youth policy, because you talk on foreign affairs policy, you have ideas on sustainability and environmental policies, you have ideas on social policies, you have ideas on everything we are doing also when it comes to raw materials, external policies or development policies. You have ideas to all fields of policy. And so for me, it would be very important that each and every committee does such hearings. And I hope that I will be one day successful in pushing for this also in the CCC, that every committee invites young people to their hearings to listen to their ideas so that we really have a stronger involvement in our actual and everyday policy making of young people. Thank you very much for engaging. Thank you very much for bringing your ideas to the Parliament, and I hope that we will have also in future fruitful cooperation with the young generation and the parliamentarians here in this House, because we are also representatives for the young generation, and that needs that we have a structural and sustainable exchange on the European Parliament's level with the Commission and all institutions that are there. Thank you very much. And finally, I would like to invite you to be more active also politically, because in democratic systems, real solution can only emerge through debate and participation. And you know that in the next year, on the 9th of June, or also the days before, depending on the country where you come from, we will have again European elections. And in some countries, we have already the age of 16 where young people can vote. And I just can beg you, take part in this. Inform yourself, take a look to who is representing you on the European level, and take your choice. Because if you don't take your choice, others will do that for you. And that might not be in your sense. So I'm very happy to have such engaged a group of people today here. And now at the end, I would like to invite you that all people who want to attend one of the workshops should now follow the EP staff, who will be at the door over there and direct you to the meeting rooms where the discussions in the workshops can take place. Thank you very much for being here. thank you for your engagement, and I hope that is just the start of a fruitful cooperation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.